Welcome back, everybody. It must be a Tuesday night. Second Tuesday
Because I hear that annoying button.
Do you hear that annoying button? What's up, everybody? My name is Chad Brock.
And I'm Zach Bailiff.
And you guys are watching the ever so illustrious and almost at 20 episodes Orion Podcast. And we're back. You know, I have to stall like that because I never remember to have the intro video ready.
Have it ready to go.
Yeah, I mean,
like we were professionals at this or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're 19 episodes in plus all the Doc Talk episodes that I've done into this, and I still can't remember how to do it. So
we'll get it one of these days.
One of these days I'll learn. It's only our mom's watching anyway, so it doesn't matter. Jason Cassidy Fishing is watching though. Him and Nicole are always watching.
He's a regular.
Guys. They're actually out your way.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
It's cold. It's cold.
It's cold everywhere, man. 5:30 this morning, get up, walk outside, and there's freaking snow. This was the earliest I have ever seen snow in Indiana.
What I was trying to figure out this morning, I mean, I can't ever remember a time when we were seeing snow in October. Not that you got a lot, but
like I can remember some Halloweens when like my kids were little, but no, man, I've never seen it snow this early. So
Coop had posted a trail cam photo with some white stuff on the ground and 2 bucks in it, and those bucks looked confused.
Like, I was confused, man.
What is going on?
Well, and you know, I mean, it's crazy because we were out, brand new boats over the weekend. We were out on the boats, chilling out, hanging out, sunburnt, and having a great time on Saturday. I'm wearing shorts at the Jackson Kayak Factory in Tennessee on Friday, and Sunday we're like sweating. We're at Valonia days because it's hot. You've got sun beating down on you, 1 million people, so it's like hot. And today it's snowed. It's gonna be 80 this weekend though.
I started to say, just be patient. It's going to change again.
Right in time for you to come home and hit the stand.
Yeah, and you know that kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit on seeing some buck activity. I think they'll probably, the big boys at least, they'll probably still be hanging out at night. But I'm hoping I can come home and stick a few does and at least come home with full coolers.
Right on. But yeah, so hopefully we get it done. We've got some videography work to do too, so that'll be fun. Hopefully you get your end handled, and then I get to come do that, and then you can come do my side of it. That'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
You just get that done on Friday, then we can have like everything else done.
I'll be driving Friday, so I hope I don't fill tags on Friday.
You're gonna have to drive. You're gonna have to drive a little faster.
If I'm driving, that means I filled them with the truck. But well, anyhow, I'm excited for tonight. Reconnected with this dude yesterday. Had to talk to him in several years, and he's a husband, father, entrepreneur, and a bow hunter. So he's all good by me. He's been on a pretty awesome fitness journey, which we'll get to later in the podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Collin Cottrell.
Jerry.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? How's it going, man?
Good, man. Yeah. How are you?
Good. This is cool, man. I love this little platform we got going on here, and we're live on YouTube and Facebook. Same
Live
time.
on
YouTube and
YouTube,
Facebook at the same
Facebook.
time.
Man, technology.
High-tech rednecks.
Yeah.
This is awesome, man.
We-
This is awesome. I appreciate you guys inviting me on, and like you said, Zach, it's been awesome to reconnect. I think
Yeah.
we connected at ATA back years ago now. I think.
It had to be 2015. I was trying to remember. I know it wasn't 14. Evan and I went on our first elk hunt in 15, and then he went to work at Hoyt. And I'm thinking that was the ATA it was at, but I
Yep.
can't really remember. It was either 15 or 16. It was somewhere in there.
Somewhere right in there, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I remember it. I vaguely remember it though.
Yeah, it was a brief meeting, but so I'm surprised you remember. But I try and at least make a note when I meet people who are connected with guys who I really respect and appreciate in the industry. So it was it was good to reconnect and get you on such short notice.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it, man. I'm excited. I'm always excited to talk about good stuff, man. So it sounds like you guys have some good stuff in line. You guys have been doing some good conversations here on the live podcast. So
yeah.
We try not to screw it up. Now it doesn't always work out in our favor. We had one guest that went on a good 45-minute run, and I don't think we asked a question. So
Yeah,
can't say we've been perfect.
I did not say a whole lot of words during that podcast. So
yeah.
Sometimes you just let them talk, right?
Yeah, he was gone. I mean, it was just, yeah, it was off to the races, man. And it was just 45 minutes of wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the things we like to do with the Orion podcast is, and always will, it's foundational and it's telling your story and about you. So how did your outdoor journey start? How did you get into hunting? Did you grow up in it, or was it something that you found maybe a little bit later? Kind of give us the backstory on how hunting began for you.
Yeah, that's a good story. So I grew up in central Minnesota, north central Minnesota actually, and my family was a hunting outdoors family. We that was just kind of a way of life where we came from. I actually grew up in the poorest county in Minnesota, so like basically we killed the food and then we ate it all year. Like that's what we ate. So, it was between farming and hunting. Like that's just what you do where I come from. So from a super early age, it was part of my life. Honestly, I remember sitting on a deer stand when I was probably 2 or 3 years old with my dad, wrapped in a blanket, him telling me to shut the heck up and handing me little mini candy bars, So, and that was the early days, man. It was from the start, but from there, you obviously kind of grow up and it becomes something every year, especially in Minnesota. We were rifle hunters growing up for the most part. And every year we had the 2 weeks, the Orange Army would come out and basically we'd go sit we'd go to what we called the big woods. It was kind of our family hunting camp area up in the Lion State Forest. And then my family had a couple 40 acre 80 acre plots that they also owned right up next to the state land. So that was kind of like our hunting camp area. All my family, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my dad, everybody, my brothers and sisters, whatever, we'd come up there during hunting season and we'd, do what you do in hunting camp, hang out, eat good food, tell a bunch of lies and all the good stuff,
Oh yeah.
So yeah, man, that was kind of the way I started. From there, I just, it became something I really enjoyed, and I look forward to every year. As I got older, I realized how important it was to spend that time in the woods just for your own sanity as well. And actually because of that, it kind of pushed me towards trying to find a way I could be out in the woods more. So, which I think there's a lot of guys that are the same way, you try to find how you can spend more time in the woods. And so for me, it was trying to find get into this bow hunting stuff. And fortunately for me, my dad had bow hunted a little bit. So he kind of got me going a little bit, but I had a buddy who was in high school, and he was a big bow hunter, and he's like, hey man, you got to get in, you're a big hunter, you're big into hunting and all this stuff. And he's like, you got to get into bow hunting, go get yourself a bow and start practicing. And, there was no YouTube, there was no John Dudley, there was no easily learn how to shoot a bow, and all that was basically trial by error. And you grab a bow. I think I had an old PSE Nova that my dad handed down to me, And basically, you grab your bow and you go out and shoot, and who knows where they're hitting at. Nobody taught me how to do it. Nobody taught me how to hold it. Nobody taught me how to like stand correctly, all those things. And you just kind of end up learning over time. I started to read magazine articles, watch VHS videos and from, does anybody know what those are still?
Right.
I've still got some somewhere.
Those were the best, man. Those were the best. Roger Raglan and man, freaking some of those old school guys, man. They were good.
The old Monster Bucks DVDs or VHS tapes.
Yep.
Zach grew up in a different era.
No, we had a lot of VHS. I remember having to adjust the tracking on the VCR.
Yep.
Oh, that was miserable. That was miserable.
Or you had to rewind it after you watched the whole thing. You have to wait felt like an hour to just
felt like an hour.
But yeah, man, that was kind of my early days growing up, in the woods. And just from there, it just, I went off to college then from there. And I realized like that you could like make the hunting industry like something you do for a living. So as I was going to school for like communications and marketing, I mean, this is back in 2006. So there was, the internet was super early still in the internet. Social media was really just getting started. We had freaking MySpace then, man. Come on.
Oh,
yeah. I remember sitting there. I don't think I got Facebook until 2006 whenever I was in college.
Yep.
That's because Tom was your first best friend.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Tom
I was still trying to figure out what music I wanted on my MySpace page.
So yeah, man, it was those were the early days. And like you said, Zach, you couldn't get a Facebook until you had a college email actually back then. So we had to wait till we got that college email that everybody was hoping to get, and then from there you could get on Facebook and start to connect with people that way. But being a marketing, kind of going to school for marketing at that time. Fortunately, I was going to school in a little city called Alexandria, Minnesota, and there was a little supplement company that was started out of Alexandria, Minnesota. You may have heard the name before. It was called Wilderness Athlete, and my uncle was actually one of the co-founders of that company, along with one of his best friends from high school. So they were looking for somebody to come in and start to help with marketing and building their website and doing, connecting with their ambassador team, all these different things. And I mean, there was no supplement companies in the hunting industry back then other than them. I mean, they were actually kind of ahead of the curve. That they were so far ahead of the curve that they did okay, but it didn't blast off like they are now, like Wilderness Athlete and several of these other great brands that are doing a lot of the same stuff, in the fitness hunting space. There was no fitness hunting space. I mean, there was Cam Hanes, Dan Staten, and pretty much nobody else back then. So, which those guys are still both around. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about kind of the start, man. And then from there, I don't know if you guys want me to keep rolling on. I'm trying not to be that guy,
Don't be that guy. No. You're fine. That was one episode. It's just it's become a running joke on that episode.
So you're in Minnesota. When did you make your way to Texas?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's kind of a good story in that. So I was going to school at a tech college there for a couple of years, got my 2-year degree. I ended up reading, it's kind of funny because Cam's been posting about this on Instagram, Cam Hanes, his book, he self-published that book back in 2006, Backcountry Bow Hunting. And I remember reading his book, and then we were working with Cam with Wilderness Athlete at that time. So I actually met Cam over a phone call because he needed products sent out to him. So I'd connect with him every once in a while, email, whatever. And then I ended up meeting him at ATA show as well. After that, I went to ATA show in, I think, 2007 for the first time. But anyway, I read Cam's book and I just got super fired up about Western bow hunting, being a flatlander from Minnesota who, hunted deer and turkey pretty much my whole life. My uncles hunted a lot of bear as well, but that was pretty much all I had ever hunted. I never had traveled to hunt or never really been outside Minnesota much before that time. And I just remember reading his book thinking, wow, like you can be an athlete, like you can hunt hard, like you can go out west, hunt elk, all these other species. And it's a challenge, all these things. And I was like, man, that's kind of cool. And I'd always been an athlete growing up. Pretty high. We won a state championship in high school and playing football. So I was like a captain on my football team. I wrestled a little bit, played some basketball. played baseball. I played all the different sports, and small town life. You can play pretty much everything, and if you're good at it, like you get to play quite a bit. So it was pretty cool. Like from there, I ended up, just really kind of like starting to want to do that with my life, is like just try to be somebody who, maybe made a living in this industry and started to like go out for Western hunts, those kinds of things. But I ended up, what ended up happening, is I went up to a 4-year school then to play college football. And so I went off to school for a year, played some college football. We had a good team. I ended up starting that year playing Division III football. And then between there, I actually I got kicked out of college. I don't tell many people this story, because I kind of don't try not to tell people the story. But I actually got kicked out of college because I didn't go to enough chapels. It was a Christian college. I didn't attend enough chapels for the for the semester, and so I ended up having to take a year off. And I decided to move out west to Montana, out to Bozeman, and I lived out there for a year and a half. And then I ended up coming back to Minnesota to finish, my second year of college football, played another year. And then I moved back out to Bozeman for another year and a half. And I ended up living out there total 3 years total. But Cam kind of inspired me to do that in that time, because I read his book. And it's kind of crazy, man. Like this Flatlander from Minnesota moving out west, you're super intimidating to go out west, the mountains, hunting elk with a bow, all those things, mule deer. But thank God I had some good mentors out there. I never really killed anything, but I got a taste of it. I got that little taste that we all need to really get us fired up about it. And
once it gets a hold of you, there's no going back.
Exactly. But from there, man, like I ended up starting kind of my own business. I was running my own media company, doing a lot of marketing and stuff for different influencers. There wasn't really any influencers back then, but it was kind of getting started. Right. I was kind of at the start of that. I was seeing this Facebook thing as a really viable tool for marketing in the hunting industry. So I kind of took hold of it, really learned how to use it. And from there, it helped me really get connected in the hunting industry. And, obviously I had that connection, first of all, with working for Wilderness Athletes. So that kind of got me my foot in the door. But from there, I kind of, as an entrepreneur, I was like, man, I can do this myself. I can build my own business. And that kind of took me out to Montana. I had a couple clients out there who I ended up renting a room from one of them, and which was really cool. And then Rocket Ryan was his name, by the way. And he was a professional rodeo clown, actually. And he was a hunting guide out in Montana. So that's kind of what got me out there. And then from there, I started doing some freelance videography, building logos, websites, all the different stuff, just to try to make ends meet as a 20-something-year-old young kid who moved out west away from home. And from there, I ended up meeting a guy in a hunting camp. It was an antelope hunting camp, who he was the guy who started the first bow hunting website ever. His name's Robert Hogue, and he started a website called bowhunting.net back in 1994. Wow. And that's real old school. You want to talk about going way back. He started that website on AOL.com, which was like the original web browser that everybody had, dial up. Robert started that website. He's a pioneer of all pioneers in that sense. But I met him on a hunt, an antelope hunt. They were doing, I don't know if you guys remember writers camps. They do a lot of writers camps. They kind of do that now, but it's more like social media camps now.
Right. Yeah. Blogs. Who reads those?
Yeah, but back then that was what it was. Like, you got all these writers in camp, who all were connected in the industry. And then Robert was kind of the guy on the, who was ahead of the curve, who had the website. So he got invited to a lot of these camps. And I ended up being in that camp with Ryan. Ryan he was part of another, like a online show, like the first Western online show. It was called Outback Outdoors, which is still on Sportsman Channel, I believe.
Yeah. Trev and those guys.
Yep. Trev, you obviously know Trev. So Trev was one of my mentors back then, he had been one of my early clients as well. I built one of his first websites. I helped him build their Outback Outdoors website, their logos, their graphics, all that stuff. And Ryan was part of that group, part of their hunting team. Anyway, so I would film for those guys. I was learning how to film and, learning how to hunt out west, all these things. And that kind of brought me to this hunting camp where I was filming Ryan for Outback Outdoors, and those guys were doing that writers camp. And from there, I was fortunate. I got an opportunity to hang out in camp for a couple days. And Ryan's like, "Hey, I got to go off to a performance. I got to go do a show. Why don't you just hang out in camp?" He actually guided for the outfitter that was putting on the hunt. So he's like, "Why don't you stay in camp and hang out and build relationships?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that." You know what I mean? Like all these writers, all these different industry companies. Grim Reaper Broadheads was there, a bunch of different brands, people who I'm still friends with to this day and have great relationships with. We're all in this hunting camp, a lot of writers that you guys probably all have heard of and know and read. And so I just stayed and hung out, and me and Robert really hit it off, me being an internet guy and him being an old guy, but still into the internet, a pioneer in that sense. Like we just hit it off, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come out next spring and I'll fly you out to Texas and we'll do some pig hunting and we'll talk more business," And it was kind of cool because he's like, he needed some help with his website. He was an older gentleman who knew this was the future, but he was pretty much running this thing by himself. He had a marketing / advertising guy named Rich Walton, who was actually a big time in the industry and had a lot of that's what pretty much helped those guys really do what they did, was having Rich on board, because Rich had all these clients who wanted to get on the internet. But Robert needed the technical help. And that's kind of where I came into play. Is he's like, "Why don't you come out to Texas?" So I flew out to Texas that next spring and went out pig hunting with him and hung out for a week, and we just hit it off. And they became one of my clients. I started helping those guys, and I fell in love with Texas, honestly, when I was out there. So just being out there, I was like, man, Texas is freaking awesome. Like you got Bozeman, which is awesome. And then you got, Central Texas, which is awesome. Right. So I was like, man, I don't know. Like Robert really wanted me to come out there and hang out and stay out there. I was like, I'll just come out, every so often, once a quarter, and we'll hang out and do some pig hunting and whatever. But long story short, I ended up meeting a girl while I was out there on one of the trips. Me and her kind of hit it off. And a year after that, she's like, "Why don't you come out here and move out to Texas?" Yeah, of course. So that made the choice really easy then. She actually originally moved out to Bozeman for a few months. She couldn't take the snow and the cold. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm moving to Texas. So long story short, long story long, I ended up moving to Texas kind of because of a girl and because I was doing business with Robert. I ended up falling in love with it, and I've been here ever since. Honestly, that was 2011, I believe, and I've been out here ever since, man. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. I'm not with the girl anymore. I'm married to a different woman.
That happens.
Thank God for that.
Funny. Oh man.
So, yeah, man.
So let's talk a little bit about C3 Media. You kind of introduce that and tell a little bit about what you guys do, what you guys offer, and how people can find that avenue.
Yeah, man. So C3 Media, man, that's kind of the face of kind of my company, of what I do. I had an agency for a while, which was called Maximum Media. I've done a lot of different stuff. I built some different website projects that I ended up selling, had a lot of success in that. And then kind of C3 Media kind of came into the picture like back then, but it was really just my solopreneur, like kind of my consulting side. And that's kind of what I've done. So I've on the back end, I'll do some consulting for different companies. I'll still build websites and do logos and do graphics and do a lot of, strategy type marketing, a little bit of social media, that kind of stuff. But honestly, I don't do a lot of it. I'm pretty picky and choosy on the clients I work with, just because I've done this for so long, and I just really like to work with certain people and certain companies that are headed in a certain direction. So I don't do a ton of work with that anymore, but I still do a little bit, And so we'll do some graphics and some marketing and all kinds of different any digital media related type stuff, even some podcast type stuff. I've done some work with some guys on that. I'm actually working on helping rebrand a podcast right now that's in the industry. They've been one name and one logo and one way for a while, and I kind of went to them, or we kind of hit it off, and they're like, man, we really need to take this to the next level. How do we do this? So I'm kind of helping them rebrand their logo and their website and their podcast, and kind of just doing a full layout, so they can kind of take it to the next level. So I'll do stuff like that. But honestly, man, I've kind of took a step back from that because really kind of over the last couple of years, just with my own personal growth, as you mentioned, Zach, me and you've been talking back and forth a little bit on Instagram. I've made a transformation. I used to be a pretty big guy. I've always been a big guy, 6'3", defensive lineman, college football player. But, it got to this point in my life where I ended up getting married, 7 years ago, met the love of my life out here in Texas. And, we had our first child. We've got 2 more now. And, you just get to that point in your life where you're like, man, something needs to change. I need to level up in my life so I can be the best leader I can be for my wife and for my kids and just for the people around you, whether it's business, community, church, whatever. And, I just started kind of going down this path where it's like I started to level up in my marriage. I started to try to become a better dad, some of these other things. It's like, and from there, it just went into this like, man, I need to make a physical change. Like I'm out of shape. I'm tired all the time. I don't look good. I don't have confidence because I look like crap. I'm fat, whatever. Not to fat shame anybody out there, but I was a big boy. And after COVID, COVID took a toll on a lot of people. And for me, I never was serious about, even though I was an athlete and I enjoyed working out and those kinds of things, I never really got serious about it till about 2 years ago. And I remember waking up, it was like Christmas Day, or maybe it was New Year's Day, 2021. And I remember just looking in the mirror. We were getting ready to have our 3rd child. And I was like, man, this has got to be enough. Like, I can't do this no more. I've got my 3rd child on the way. I'm barely hanging on the way it is. I was probably a little depressed, after COVID. 2020 was crazy. I didn't go to the gym much then. And, I wasn't in good shape mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, any area of my life. And, it just kind of had a wake up call. And I said, you know what, I'm going to start today on working on myself on the physical side. And I'm going to see what happens. And, I started to build these disciplines in my life. I started working out. I started eating right. I hired some coaches. I started training jujitsu. I started doing a lot of different things. And fortunately for me in that time, I had some good quality men that were coming around me, some guys from church and a couple close friends who had also been through a transformation in their life, a few years prior. And I kind of saw what they were doing, and they kind of came around me and said, hey man, like you got a lot going on for you, man. You got a good personality. You're a good guy. You like to work hard. You've built some cool stuff, man. You got to level up. Like you got to take this to the next level. And for me, that was kind of hard to hear, because I never really had a lot of guys like kind of call me out, I guess, in my life. And that's really what I needed. I needed that guy to come alongside me and really call me out. And I think now that I have a lot of good guys around me today, they call me out all the time, and my wife calls me out, no problem. and it's a good thing, because it refines us.
Yeah.
It helps us realize, those things that we're not doing right in life, and how we can make changes and how we can work on ourselves. And like I said, like I keep saying, level up in life. And so, yeah, man, that's it led me down this path of just self-improvement, in a physical side. But if anybody knows, I know this, Zach, for sure, just because I know you're huge on working out and stuff. The physical side, once that side comes and you start putting in the work, man, your mental, emotional, intellectual, social, spiritual, all these other areas like start stacking up, because you want to be good in all the areas. It becomes this thing in your life where, like, I don't want to just be good in one area. I want to be the best I can be in all areas. And I want to continue to do this for the rest of my life, So, and obviously my wives, my kids, and my wife, I've got something special, super special to live for. And I just started thinking about them a lot, and thinking about, especially my girls, my oldest is 6 and my second oldest is 5. They're growing up now. It's going quick. And my boy, he's going to be 2 in January. So, it goes super quick, and they start to really latch on and see how you live your life. And they're learning every step of the way by how you live and what you do and the actions you take in your life. I said, you know what, if I really want to lead my family, I have to do it by action. If I really want my wife to do certain things in life, I've got to lead by action first. I've got to put in the work. So then she'll follow what I do. And I can tell you guys out there who are listening, when you start to lead from the front, you get to go hunting a lot more. and your wife is totally cool with it, because you're doing the good work at home. And I think that's just a good thing for life. Like when you put in the hard work, you go towards things that are tough, that make you work, like it refines you. It makes you better. It makes you, you might not complete a goal every time, or you might not complete what you're working towards, but you're going to keep going and keep going and keep going until you get there, till you get to that point, or you have to make a switch on something where it leads you down the path you're supposed to be on. So that's really kind of where my life has went the last couple of years. And through that, I started to think about, and have a lot of these people, especially through social media, start to reach out to me. Man, how did you do this? How did you change like this? And like, can I do this? And how do you get good people around you to help you with this kind of stuff? And, I just started sharing that journey on especially on Instagram, through my stories, and, just being pretty raw and real on my posts, and just kind of just laying it out there how it really is. You kind of just got to get a little bit, a little bit vulnerable, I guess. And, it kind of sets you apart as well. Just being a marketing and a social media guy, I get that. Like, storytelling is the key to building out, content and getting people to follow you, obviously. But for me, it was so much more. It's like, it became this thing. Like, I want to help other people. I want to see people who are where I was at. I want to come alongside them and kind of share my journey in a way that I can say, hey, I screwed up. I messed up a lot. But you know what? You can start working on yourself tomorrow, and you can turn this thing around. Like, you can be whatever you want to be if you start working on that, or go down the journey and the path you're supposed to go on, at least. And that's kind of what I've done. And it's kind of turned into this opportunity to start to mentor other men who are on that same journey, who want to level up in their life. And that's kind of where my side business right now that I'm working on, it's called High Caliber Hunts. And really what that is it's hunting camps for guys who are trying to level up in their life. Really, the idea is to bring men into hunting camp, get 8 to 10 guys into a hunting camp, obviously to have that time. Usually what we do is we get together, we hunt pigs, in camp for 3 days, 2 nights. It's a great time, first of all, because you're hunting, you're bow hunting, you're here in Texas. Texas is a great destination. Everybody wants to come and, do some pig hunting or whatever. It's a little more relaxed. It's still a challenge, but it's a little more relaxed than your elk hunt or your deer hunt or whatever. A lot more downtime. And just being in this industry for a while, I've built some great relationships where, we get into camp and I kind of let my guys do their thing and guide it and take care of that stuff. And, we try to facilitate the process where we start to kind of get a little more vulnerable while we're being constructive. We get these guys in camp who want to level up and get around other guys and network with other guys who are basically on the same path that I'm on and that you're on, and that we're all trying to level up and become better husbands, better fathers, better business owners, better community leaders, better church members, whatever that looks like for you. It's all these guys who are on that same path. And it gives us this opportunity to really start to kind of have those deeper conversations, I guess, while we're, sitting around the campfire, maybe having a beer or having a cigar or whatever in hunting camp. Like, everybody loves that. Now I'm just taking it to that next level where it's like, hey, we're going to kind of get past the surface level stuff. Who cares about the weather? Like, let's talk about some of the mess ups maybe we've had and how we can work on those things and actually grow to make an impact on the people around us. Because ultimately for me, that's where I'm at. I had some early success in my 20s, built a couple businesses that did really well, made money, had influence, met a lot of cool people, did a lot of cool stuff, went on some hunts, whatever. But ultimately that stuff isn't fulfilling. You know what I mean? It's just not. And for me, it's like, I started to find that fulfillment really came from putting in hard work, doing hard things, and then starting to help others do the same thing, man. So yeah, that's I know I'm long-winded there, man, but that's kind of the path I'm on, man. That's where kind of High Caliber Hunts comes in. And you know, I have another hunting camp coming up in December. And so hopefully we get some more guys out there for that one here in Texas, and do some pig hunting, and just get together with some good guys and have a good time, and start to build out your band of brothers is what I like to call it. You know, you start to build these relationships that are real relationships that are, you know, going to last a lifetime. Honestly, I've done 2 different hunting camps already in the spring, and I love all those guys, man. They're awesome guys. They're all guys working on themselves, trying to level up in their life, and now they're going to go on to their families and their friends and the people around them and try to do the same thing. And that's what we need more of, man. That's where us, like the politics, the this, the that, you know, all this stuff going on in our world today. Like, if we truly want to make an impact, it starts with us, and it starts with us spreading that to others the best way we can, using the talents and the skills that we have. So that's what I'm trying to do, man.
That's awesome.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you know, one of the things that I've always found, and you really dropped it just exactly what it is. Positive people bring positive power to your life. And, you know, there's just so much that can go right when you're around a positive group of people that are motivated in the same direction, or just motivated at all.
Correct.
To take themselves forward. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, man. You know, when you think back, like, to our, you know, my grandfather wasn't around much. He was my dad was the youngest of 12 kids. So I didn't really have a lot of time with my grandfather, unfortunately. And I kind of wish I did, you know, but I try to imagine, you know, the other kids around me that had grandfathers and dads that were really around. They got mentored by their grandfathers and their dads. You know what I mean? They had their dads and their grandfathers would teach them and really bring them up in a way that, like, hey, don't do this, or you should do that, or you should go this way, or you shouldn't go that way. You know what I mean? And I didn't have a lot of that growing up, unfortunately. And, you know, so that kind of messed me up for a little while, and I've had to go back and rework some of those things, and which is okay. I think that's good. I think it's good that I've had to figure it out kind of the hard way, but because of that, it started to bring these other guys around me, these mentors, or, you know, around me in a way where, like, I had to kind of open up and drop the ego and say, you know what, you know, I need to start to listen to some of these guys around me who have what I want. They look good. They have a cute girlfriend or a good looking wife. They've got kids. They're successful in their business. They're leading other guys. You know, they're doing a lot of good stuff. They're killing big animals out in the woods, whatever. You know, you look around and you see what people have that you want ultimately, not because you're, you know, jealous of them, but because you truly want to work hard for those things, and bringing those people around you. You're not gonna go to somebody to learn how to work out that's fat. You know what I mean? You're not gonna go get advice from somebody on elk hunting that's never killed an elk. You know, like, that makes no sense. So, you know, that's luckily for me. I had some of these guys come around me and start to be honest with me and tell me the truth and help me drop my ego so I could start to level up and grow. And from there, man, like, now I'm on fire for it. Like, I want to do the same thing to the people around me that, you know, you can't make people do that, but you start to, as you go down that journey, like, you start to have guys who nudge you a little bit and say, hey man, I want to learn from you. Like, can you help me? Like, I want to be where you're at. So, you know, it's pretty cool how that happens.
Yeah, you know, that was a big inspiration for, you know, Huntleet and the brand we've been trying to build with it for so long. Is, you know, fitness has always been part of what we do. And I mean, for me, it's just like taking a shower every day. You know, at some point during the day, I'm going to go get my workout in.
Correct.
You know, and folks are like, well, I'm sure, you know, you diet pretty hard and this, that, and the other. I'm like, yes and no. You know, it's
seasons. There's seasons, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, and this is bulking season. We're getting into holidays and deer season, and deer season. You know, Pop-Tarts are kind of a tradition in the deer stand. It's just, it is what it is. But you know, you don't have to, maybe in the beginning, you got to do a little bit of the calorie count or the macro counting or things like that. But eventually all that stuff kind of becomes second nature, and you can kind of flip the switch as you reach your goals and learn how to, you know, eat common sense wise and things like that, which is kind of more of the way I go about it, you know, very little added sugar throughout the week and things like that. But on the weekend, you can have, you know, a little bit of ice cream or things like that. You don't have to torture yourself. It can all be enjoyable. And it just, other folks around who may be indulging in things more than they should tend to take notice and see how those changes that you're making affect you, and they want to see those same results. And it's just, it's like you said, it just kind of bleeds over, and your network grows a little bit. You're all able to kind of support each other and build accountability partners and things like that to help keep you, in check and on track.
Well, and you hit a good point, Zach. Like it becomes a lifestyle. Okay. It becomes something that's just part of your life. You get up and, my non-negotiables are, I'm going to pray. I'm going to get in my word. I'm going to read the Bible to my kids in the morning. I'm going to get a workout in. I'm going to eat good. I'm going to do all these things. I have these different non-negotiables that are built into my lifestyle. It's not a pain for me to do because I love doing them. I enjoy doing those things. You know what I mean? It's part of my life now because I've had the consistency to start working on those things over a period of time that it's part of life. And then from there, like you just mentioned as well, like, you start to get around certain people because that you're going to attract the same kind of people that what you want to be like, you know what I mean? So those people come around you, and now you guys are just working together to level each other up and helping each other. And that's where new businesses come in. That's where new projects come in. Like what you're doing with Huntley. That's where, podcasts come in, all these good value driven things. And then all of a sudden you've got brands on board, helping you build your thing and putting money into you because they believe in you. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that happens just from starting to work on yourself and getting the right people around you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned leading by example and the kids taking notice and things like that. My oldest daughter, she's 4. She's been, she comes down to the gym with me most days.
Yep.
Plays on the rings. I've seen her try and pick up a deadlift bar with 115 pounds on it. She's not going to move it, but she tried, things like that. That just kind of, the day she does, I might be a little worried. It plants that spark, puts that ember in them to hopefully one day they kind of see, Dad had this routine and he stayed healthy for, X amount of years. And I want to be able to build those habits and those behaviors and routines as well. And hopefully when it comes time, hopefully I stay in shape enough. I scare the boys off for a long time on both daughters, but when it does come time for that, hopefully, they look for qualities in somebody else that are, as admirable and things like that and structured where they can, choose someone who is good for them and will keep, protect them and stand by them. And
you're exactly right, man. And that's just leading from the front as a man. Like, you're bringing that presence into their life and they're seeing this is the way it should be. This is the way that dad is. This is the kind of man that I need in my life. And not only did you hit on a good point in that point, but here's the thing, like you look around social media, man, there's a lot of thirsty, people out there. I'm not going to say men and women. Okay. And it's really, it's honestly really sad and unfortunate. Like you've got all these people that are posting selfies every day. They me, give me attention. And really that boils down to, they didn't get enough attention from, I'm just going to call it out. Dad didn't give them enough attention. Okay. And, especially for the ladies, man. So I look at that and I see that and I'm just disgusted by that, man. And then I start to think about like, man, do I want my daughters being that lady out there on Instagram, posting those kind of photos or those kind of videos because they don't have anybody putting that in their life already? No, I want to be the dad who's doing that for my daughters, who's loving on them, who's caring about them, who's taking them out hunting, who's showing them the way, who's being that example to them. So they don't have to be that person. And it's really unfortunate that's the world we live. That's what it's like today with social media. And it's not only is it bad for guys seeing that because then they get drawn into it and it pulls them off the path. But those ladies end up having a lot of issues for a long time because of that too. And it's sad, man.
Well, there's a big conversation on that too with, just people's mental health and the peer pressure and what social media does to people. The kids today, obviously they're growing up in a different way with something that we have never really had to experience, as far as going to school with social media and the different things like that. And I've seen it with my kids evolving and to see it now, it's just, man, it's crazy. It's a call for acceptance in a lot of ways. And it's just, man, it's tough.
Yep. No, it absolutely. Go ahead, Zach.
It's just, I was just going to say, it's on another level. I mean, you can't open any of the platforms with the exception maybe Vero because it's so new, without being smacked in the face by it. And the problem is the folks who actually have quality information, experience, and wisdom and knowledge to offer in whatever niche they may be in can't get attention because those aren't the things that draws the engagement and the likes and follows on social. It's all the other, the
crap.
Yes.
Yeah, the influencers and the fame and the fortune and all the fake stuff. I mean, come on, man. Like we don't really have a lot of people really sharing real stuff and real tough situations and tough moments they've had to live through and go through, and how they're actually working on themselves to get through those situations, to live a better life and be a better human being and be a better leader or whatever that is, be a better father, whatever. And that's, I see that out there and I'm just like, man, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to be real and a little bit vulnerable about this. Even as a man, I'm going to be vulnerable. It's not always easy to do. I'll be honest, but you know what? I'm going to start sharing the real stuff, and the right people are going to come alongside me and say, hey man, I appreciate this. And I'm not going to do it for any fame or fortune or because it makes me look cool. I'm just going to do it because you know what? It's going to help people. It's going to make an impact. It's going to hopefully leave a legacy to my kids and my family to say, you know what? This is how dad did it. This is what he did. And hopefully the people that it impacts, they go off and do the same thing as well. They start sharing the real stuff,
Yeah, that's always the hope, I mean, we know social media is just a very small picture, and it's usually a very small picture of the good in somebody's day to day. We don't see the struggles or the issues of the things they're working on, and I mean, folks need to see that too.
Yeah, that journey, man. And it's not always easy to post that stuff. You know what I mean? It's definitely not. I know I struggle with it myself. And even though I do post quite a bit of it, like I still struggle with it. It's like, man, should I really post this? Like I'm kind of putting it out there. You know what I mean? And, luckily my wife really supports me in what I do. And I've got some good mentors around me. They're like, man, you need to keep it real. Like this is what's going to truly make an impact and help people. And if you want to build a following or whatever, or a business, and obviously, because that's what you have to do today to build a business is have social media. Like at least I'm doing it in a way where I feel good about it. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to game the system or something. I know, Zach, you do a lot of marketing stuff and you guys work as influencers in your own industries and ways, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a cool topic to talk about and touch on because, this affects not only just us as humans, but it affects industries. It affects, everybody. And like you guys were already kind of alluding to, like there's some mental health aspects as part of this, that are really affecting people because they just see the lifestyle stuff in a sense that like, man, I wish my life was like that. And they're like, they're being lied to, that's not really how it is,
Yeah.
It's not always pretty. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's, we've got a pretty small network of like-minded folks that, I've been able to build over the years, and pretty much all of us have kind of the same deal day to day. At some point we're getting a workout in and all that. And so it's good to be able to bounce ideas off them within the industry and know like everybody's kind of got the same opinion of all the junk that we're seeing out there, but there's still those companies that are paying for that stuff because it's the numbers and the metrics and stuff, right? The algorithm supports those accounts more so than it supports our, my small account or things like that are down in lower numbers. But
you've hit the nail on the head, my friend.
It's all money and metrics, right? At some point we got to see a change.
Yeah, and fortunately, I really believe in relationships and building real relationships with people, and that's what I've went to. I've got some great relationships with different companies in this industry. AAEs, obviously, Zach, you work with them pretty close, and Nick and I have known each other for a while, and we're both on a very similar. We're very like-minded. We're both on this path of just continuing to level up and trying to grow and lead our families and those kinds of things. And you start to have those connections with other people in the hunting industry, even, like we love hunting, but we love trying to be the best we can be in all areas of our life. So you start to hit that off with other people, and they start to see what you're trying to build and what you're trying to do. And, they know that you're not going to have the numbers like Lee and Tiffany or this Cam Haynes or whatever, and that's okay. Right. But we're going to hit people in an influential way that really matters. And it's going to be a good thing, and it's going to be, done right. And that's what's important. I think you're starting to see some companies come back around to this and see that, hey, they might not be reaching millions of people, but they're reaching thousands. And that's still important too. These are the right 1,000 people who we want to come alongside and want them to be buying our products and be part of our brand story. So.
Yeah. Nick it's funny you bring Nick up, because he's actually, like, when he and I first met and I was introduced to him, our first conversation was about training and fitness and working out. Awesome. And then eventually we got to working together as far as a partnership with Hunt Leet and things like that. But that's how we've approached many of our partners on the Hunt Leet side, is it's partnership, but we want to build a relationship moving forward with you guys. We're brand loyal, and we align ourselves with, companies that have a lot of the same values and stuff that we do. So that's really how we've approached and developed all that. And we've got a network of family members for the most part. I mean, Nick he's been on my Christmas card list for 5 years now. And then, fortunately I was able to step into, more of a social media role for him and help him out with that. And it's been good, but it's, those, if you can build those relationships, if you can get to the right person, have a conversation, and not just emails back and forth, things really tend to develop from there.
Yeah. And that's just a good point too. Like, as a marketing guy, here's a marketing tip. Like, actually call somebody on the phone or do a video call with them. Get to know them. Like, don't just say, hey man, can I get something from you? Like, actually lead with some value. Like, do some stuff for some people that with products that you actually use and actually like, like that's, I see this so much in the industry, working with different brands and consulting and doing some different things. Like, these people reach out, hey man, can I get this from you? Like, first of all, they don't have a big following. They've never built a relationship with us. No, like, we're not even going to respond to you. Like, what do you expect? You know what I mean? Like, come on. Versus, somebody who's led with value and been part of, working with somebody for a while and building that relationship. And maybe they don't have a big following, but they have a good following, and they're putting out good content, and they're doing a good job. Like, they're going to get hooked up with some product, or they're going to get a little bit of marketing dollars towards whatever they're doing, because it makes sense. You know what I mean? And we need to see more of that. We need to see people actually, like, trying to build a real relationship. And hey man, this goes beyond just marketing. Like, this goes into, like, what we were just talking about with social media.
Right.
Like this isn't just all about you. It's about telling your story and bringing people along on your journey, telling that story, because you actually want to help other people. Okay.
Talking about, somebody, if there is somebody out there listening that, maybe doesn't have a lot of followers or wants to get into this, and, they know they don't have the followers. If you have 1,000 followers, if you have 500 followers, somebody told me this a while back, and it just, like, I don't know why I had never thought of it, but it resonated. Imagine that 500 people in a room. Imagine that 1,000 people in a room. That's a lot of freaking people. Yeah. I mean, if you're reaching those people,
speaking to them, doing a speech.
Imagine actually standing up on a podium, talking to that 500 people or that 1,000 people with your social media, even if it's kids, adults, whatever you're following, there's power in that speech. So it does go a long way. Whether you don't be discouraged if you don't have a lot of followers, because if you, like what Collin said, if you're building those relationships and doing those things, it can go far.
You got to do the behind the scenes work too, man. There's so many people that think this is just easy, whether it's the hunting industry or whatever industry, you're just, oh man, you're an overnight. Cam Haynes, he's an overnight success. You know what I mean? It's like, I've known Cam for 16 years, man. Like, that guy's been the same Cam back then. That, I mean, he might look a little different now and have a bigger following, but that guy's been putting in the work for years. Dan State, he's another one. That guy's been putting in the work for years. And now Dan's exploding. And thank God, because he's a great voice and he stands for the right things and he does the right work. He does the right things. And that's just examples from our industry, of course. But it doesn't just happen overnight, man. You got to be that guy who's been 20 years in the making, a 20-year overnight success, as I like to say. And, putting in the work behind the scenes, grinding. Like, it's the same thing, like, with my own journey right now, man. Like, I do share a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, man. I'm just putting in the work. I'm putting in the time, putting in the effort, I'm actually training for a 100-mile ultra right now, and
wow.
which is kind of, people think I'm crazy, which I am crazy, but as you go down this journey and you start to level up, you realize that you can reach way beyond the potential you ever could. And I know I'm going to run that 100-mile race, and I'm going to complete it, and it's going to happen in about 4 months from now. So I'm putting in the work. I've been training for super hard for the last 2 months especially, but I started running about 6 months before that. And I'm putting in the work. I'm putting in the time behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, around the scenes, everywhere. You know what I mean? Like if you really want to complete something hard or do something good or make a big splash or make a big impact, like you actually have to put in the work. It doesn't matter who's watching you, if it's on social media or not. Like put in the work. So that's just a good,
especially on something,
a good thing for everybody to learn.
Especially on something like that. I mean, a 100-miler, if you don't put in the work, it's going to cut you off the knees. Like, I mean,
no doubt.
I'm not a runner, but the farthest I've ever ran at one time was a little over 10 miles. And dude, my knees were swollen. Now, granted, I did not train for that at all. I was running like I was running like a mile and a half a day, about 3 times a week. And my sister-in-law was training for a marathon, and she was like, "Hey, will you go run my long day on Saturday with me?" I was like, I could probably keep her pace. Yeah, I did, but it hurt. So the fact that you're going after a 100-miler, man, that's awesome. It's mind-boggling. What's your running schedule like? Like, what kind of mileage are you putting in per week? Do you have a pretty good progression going? Are you planning on tapering down beforehand?
Yeah. So I'll be straight up with you too, Zach. I'm not a runner either. Like 2 years ago, I was 290 pounds, 6'3", 290 pounds. So right now, I've lost 80 pounds. I'm 210. I'm in the best shape.
You weigh less than I do, by the way.
Yeah, you got some pretty big arms, bro.
I'm only 5'11", so the camera makes things look.
Oh yeah. There you go. But
it's not just the camera.
It's not just the camera. He's got one of those flat cameras that make him look real big.
Yeah. I'm using that 14 mil, that fisheye.
Yeah. That's what it is. But no, man, like I'm not a runner. It's just one of those things, like, as you go, like I said, you go down this progression, like you want to try hard things, you want to do hard things. And like, I honestly picked running and trying running because it was something that I don't like. And I was like, man, this is going to push me super hard mentally, physically, emotionally, in so many different ways than I've ever been pushed. So, it was about, 6, 7, 8 months ago, I kind of started running a little. I mean, I had started running as I went down my fitness journey, a little bit, but I was literally running like a /walking/jogging an 18-minute mile when I started. So there you go. That's pretty bad. But, I just started working my way up as I got in better shape and I started to progress physically. I was like, man, I'll start running a little bit more. And from there, it just kind of progressed in this thing. Like, I hate running, but you know what? Let's push hard. Let's see what happens. I've watched guys like, Cam and some of these other guys out there do this for years. Like, why can't I do it? I can do this. I'm still young. I'm only in my mid-30s. Like, I can still be at my peak, right now. So I started kind of going down that journey and started running. And it was, it started out with a couple miles a day, to 4 miles a day to, or every other day. I've got a coach now who I'm working with. Shout out to Coach Ryan. He's awesome. He's ran Moab. He's ran a bunch of 100s. He's done a ton of marathons. He's actually working on, his under 3 hour marathon right now, which is pretty tough. So he's really working hard on that. But his coach is a guy by the name of Michael McKnight, actually, who actually works with Mountain Ops now. He just signed a contract with them, but he actually paces for Cam on a lot of Cam's runs. So there's some industry connection there, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Coach Ryan's kind of got me on this regimen now, eating good, running, obviously. So right now I'm doing roughly 40 to 50 miles a week. And like I said, I'm not a runner. This is not something I've ever done, but I'm, I can go out now, and I started to work on my aerobic, energy, getting that heart rate down. I'm tracking everything. I'm, I've got a, heart rate monitor going and everything, I'm doing all this, like I'm putting in the work, man, and trying to do it right. But here's the thing, like, I'm a guy who doesn't necessarily want to just be a runner. Like, I want to, my goal for me is ultimately to get back out west and kill some elk and kill a bunch of elk and kill some mule deer. And you know what I mean? Like ultimately it's to be that Huntley, like what you're building, Zach. You know, that's the ultimate goal. I was like, you know what, this is just going to push me better in that direction to become a better hunter. So I can be strong, I can be fast, I can be physical, I can have the endurance, can have all these different things, really be that hybrid athlete. I train jujitsu as well. You know, I still lift pretty hard. You know, I'm trying to do all these things. Obviously for a 100-mile run, you're going to have to lose a little bit of the muscle because I've got to lose a little bit more weight here. Because really for me, the goal has become to like be able to say, hey, I've lost 100 pounds and now I've ran 100 miles, which I thought that'd be kind of cool. So I've got to lose about 15 more pounds, 20 more pounds to get there. And once I'm there, you know, I'll be in probably tip top running shape, but you know, I've still got 4 months ahead. The race isn't until February. And so, yeah, man, it's going to be, you know, some pretty hardcore running. You know, my long days are going to end up being 15 to 20 mile days, you know, towards, you know, probably a month out, I would say. And then from there, I believe we'll start to taper back down and just kind of do a lot of easy runs and kind of go from there. But man, we're mixing it up. There's all kinds of, he's having me do some sprints, some, you know, some long runs, some short runs, some easy runs, some runs where I really push my heart rate up, some runs where I, you know, really focus on just an easy, you know, easy, steady pace, really watching that heart rate. It's really cool. Like I never realized running was actually like there was so many pieces to that puzzle. Like I never understood aerobic, anaerobic, all these different things. Like, so it's actually stride length. Exactly. Like there's so many cool parts about running. It's like, it's kind of become really fun in that sense, you know, because I kind of geek out on that kind of stuff now. So yeah, man, that's kind of what my journey looks like. But you know, it's awesome. Like it's just pushing me hard. Like I'm losing that belly now. Like it's kind of cool because you know you're just, you know, you're pushing your body in different ways. I'm really tightening up my eating now. You know, from here on out, like it's going to be pretty strict. So I've got some pretty big goals. After I run that 100 next year, I'm also doing another race called the Mid-State Mile. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No,
but basically it's the Murder Mile, they call it. It's a 1 mile loop that has, I'm not sure what the elevation gain and loss is on that, but it's pretty good. And it's on the Tennessee border in the mountains there. And basically it's a 1 mile loop where you get 20 minutes to run that in, you know, that 1.1 mile loop. And basically you run until there's nobody left. So you just keep running it. Like you run, the timer starts, you got 20 minutes to run that first lap. So basically you try to stay at like I think a 16 to 18 minute pace for each mile. And like, there's a lot of elevation gain and loss in that mile. I'm not sure what it is. I think, was it 800 feet or 600 feet? You know, like
that's pretty good in a mile though. I mean,
quite a bit for a mile. And so, yeah, it wears you out. So you can't just be a runner. Like you've got to be strong. You got to have some quad strength. You got to have some leg strength. You can't skip leg day. That's for sure. So I'm actually preparing to run that one as well next year. So
that'll be great. That posterior chain got to pull you up the hill. So that'll be good. That'll be awesome. Because I mean, you're talking that much elevation gain in a mile. At some point, you got to come back down too. So it's really, you're seeing that gain in more of like a half mile.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. It's a pretty big push up. I think my buddy Tyler, he ran it last year. He got like 9th or 10th place, and he ran 68 miles, I think. And in 48 hours or something like that. It was pretty damn cool. He's a beast. He's a beast, man. And he's like, dude, like people don't realize like it's not easy. Like you're going way up real quick and then back down and then way up again and then back down. There's a couple different spots in there where it, you know, like I said, they call it the Murder Mile. So it's pretty nuts. The guy who usually wins it every year is like a former Navy SEAL who is pretty hardcore ultra runner. His name's Chad Wright, and he's an awesome guy. If you get a chance, go look him up. He's a badass. Yeah,
for sure. We'll connect on that. Yeah, sometimes the coming down's just as bad as the going up too, because your knees are taking a lot of pounding coming down the hill. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, as far as go ahead.
I was just gonna say what's cool about that though is think about how that gets you ready for elk hunting. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That's what's so awesome about it. Like my goal, like I went out to Montana with my buddy Tyler just to help him on his elk hunt this year, and it was awesome. Like we were running those hills, man. Like it was crazy. We were in the break, so we weren't in the mountains with the high elevation. That's the part I'm more worried about now. But my body, we went 40 miles in 3 days, 4 days. And I felt great, man. I was like, let's keep going, man. We're not stopping. Fortunately, I had to get back to work. My wife needed to get home. But man.
Yeah, 40 miles in 3 or 4 days, that's burning up the grass. I think in 15 we did just short of 80 in like 5.5 days.
Dude, that's really burning it up.
That was my first trip out there, and it was an eye-opener. It was Colorado. We were somewhere between 95 and 12,000 feet the whole time, and that's an Indiana boy got a taste of the low oxygen levels up there real quick. But
was that with Evan? Did you go with Evan?
So that was my very first trip with Evan in 15, and this was the first year that I've not been elk hunting since then. So I'm itching to get back.
I hear you.
I've been to Colorado every year. We did Idaho in 2018, and while that state doesn't, the elevation change isn't at like 9,000 plus, it's a little lower, so you don't get quite as much of the oxygen deprivation. But dude, Idaho's a steep state. There's a lot of up and down in that state. But yeah, you're right. I mean, becoming as much of a hybrid athlete as you can, and cardio's your friend. You don't want to lose too much muscle going on an elk hunt. You got to be ready for that pack out.
Yeah.
But we've done a couple super heavy pack outs at my 19 bull. We did in one trip with just the two of us, and it was brutal. We got to the truck and I got that pack off, and it felt like I still had it on.
Your back was like stuck in that position.
My back, my hips, and my knees were worse than my back. So it was
That's crazy. I truly look forward to that, man. It just it sounds awesome, bro.
Yeah. No, we'll have to get after it one of these days, because having positive guys in camp with you on trips like that makes them so much better, man.
Well, that's the other thing of that too. Like now I'm thinking about, man, if I really want to go on this elk hunt, like I need to make sure like these guys I'm going with like are ready to get after it too. Cause like I'm not just going to go hunt, man. Like I'm gonna go kill a big bull, or a bull or whatever. Obviously my goals are gonna be a little less getting started just because I've never killed a bull or a mule deer buck, but from there, like let's get after it. Let's put some miles in. Let's not let our body and our hold us back. Let's make sure that it's because we make a mistake out in the field, which is gonna happen,
Yeah. No, once you get out of the truck and load your pack up, your body is your vehicle. So if you hear a bull 2 ridges over bugling and he's on public ground and you can get after him, let's go. Don't let the distance slow you down. Who cares if it's getting dark? Let's get after it and put him to bed, and we'll find him in the morning.
Exactly. I'll suffer all year to have that come together and let me get after it like that. So no problem.
I've heard it a lot lately. It's what we refer to as type 2 fun. It sucks in the moment, but afterwards it was a blast.
Yeah, exactly. When you're done packing it out, man, and you're eating those loins over a campfire.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
A blast. Well, aside from the 100-miler, obviously you want to get on an elk hunt. What other goals do you have for the the short term or the long term?
Yeah, man, really I've got a lot of business centric goals right now, just because I'm really trying to work on this high caliber hunts thing. Trying to really redefine that and kind of find out where, honestly for me, the good Lord is pushing me in that way, and how I can help as many people as possible with that. And so there's a lot of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual goals, and I'm working on, some of those are like entrepreneurial in the sense of trying to build that business, and like what's that look like? Because you can only bring so many guys on a hunt, in a hunting camp. So that can't be the main product. Part of me is kind of looking at this as like, maybe there's an opportunity here to like build this community, this online community of guys who maybe kind of come together and hold each other accountable, kind of like a team of guys, kind of coming together. So that's one of the ideas I have on the works, kind of in the backside. I'm still working on some of that, the framework, some of those things, but I've been part of some of these online community. I'm actually part of an online community right now that I pay for, and I've got a, what I call it's a battle team. And basically we work on different goals. We work on different things. we help each other level up and we hold each other accountable, and we do weekly calls, and we do a lot of really cool stuff that's helping us all grow and become better men so we can lead the way. And it's like, man, we just need more of that. We need more guys doing stuff like that. And we, obviously we need high level guys, high caliber guys working towards that so we can, again, lead the way. So a lot of my goals are around that kind of stuff. Obviously every day trying to just be a good husband, a father, those kinds of things. But, getting out West, man, that's definitely right at the top of the list. Getting out there, killing a mule deer. Colorado would be good. Montana would be awesome. Some of those places. So yeah, definitely just trying to reach out and build more friendships around some of that as well. Because like I said, man, like I want to make sure when I get out West that I'm going with guys who really want to get after it and want to get into them. So
yeah, that's what it takes. That's what it takes for sure.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
Well, Collin, we have burnt up an hour and 10 minutes.
It went fast.
I thought we were just getting started, man. I'm ready to keep rolling.
I know.
I think I had texted you the other day, let's keep this at like 45 minutes. But I was like, man, we're having so much fun, man, having a great conversation. I'm like,
and
it's keep rolling.
Yeah.
We'll have to do this again for sure, man.
Yes, this is going down again. I think we're going to have part 2. What are you doing in 2 weeks?
I don't
bi-weekly.
Yeah. The third co-host.
Sounds good to me. Come on back.
Yeah, whenever we get in a pinch, I'm just going to call Collin. Hey, you want to jump on the podcast tonight?
Part 2.
I think I can make that work.
You're definitely coming back for the reunion episode. I don't know how many episodes we got to be in to have the reunion.
I started to say we're
getting close.
20-year reunion.
It's 20 episode reunion.
20 episode
We're on
reunion.
episode 19. So what are you doing in 2 weeks?
I'll be in Illinois, hopefully killing some big bucks.
There you go.
But let's tell the people at home where to find you, how to learn more, and how to be involved.
Yeah, man. Probably the easiest way is just connect with me on Instagram at Collin, COLLIN _ Cottrell, COTTRELL. And I guess if people are watching this, they can see my name there on the screen. That's probably the easiest way to connect with me. Drop me a message. Let me know that you heard me on the podcast here. I'd love to connect with other guys, especially. You can go to my website and see a lot of my stuff there. Just CollinCottrell.com. Simple as that. So you can go to High Caliber Hunts from there. You can see my C3 Media stuff. Just connect with me. Schedule a call with me if you want to jump on a call. I do some health coaching as well, and some coaching. So I actually helped some guys with some of that kind of stuff on the physical side. So yeah, any way that anybody wants to connect with me, that's pretty much it.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to drop you down below. Hang out for a second. Me and Zach's going to close this thing out, and we'll be right back with you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, Collin.
Thanks for being here, bud.
Episode 19. Turn the button off, man.
Good. It's broke.
Turned it off. That was a good.
No, that was
episode.
good.
That we could have went for like at least 4 hours. That was like good truck ride conversation, getting ready to go down.
You would have saw the old cane pull me off the stage, because my wife probably would have hooked me and drug me out of here by then. But
probably I'd have had to burn a needle at my feet ready to go outside. But so everybody at home, thanks for watching. We do appreciate you. Remember, Orion coolers on sale. They're cheaper. We're cheaper than ever, cheaper than the Yetis. Check us out.
USA made.
USA made in America. We need to get that reel for our intro. That'd be cool. I'm gonna work on that next trip. I'm doing that one. Check us out, jacksonkayak.com. Jackson Kayak, 15% off sale at your local dealers right now, all 2022 and older models. If you got a hankering for a new kayak, 'tis the season. So check it out, jacksonkayak.com. Find your local dealer, and that's all I got, man. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Hopefully
the next podcast we have a couple deer on the ground to talk about.
Yeah. Hopefully it's
that's the plan.
80 degrees and kayaking weather again for me, but I'm not going to jinx all you hunters out. I know how that goes.
I could do without the 80 degrees.
Nah, it's a beautiful time of year. But thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate it, and we will catch you Doc Talk Thursday night. And then the next the the next Orion podcast will be, November 1st.
Ooh, right before my second trip home.
Yeah, right before your second trip home. So we got to talk about that one too. Anyway, Thanks for watching. Check us out on Spotify, on the interwebs, not Apple, because we're not there. Anyway, see you next time.
Later.